Here's a detailed overview of Los Zetas, one of the most violent and powerful drug cartels in Mexico's history. Origins and history formation. Los Zetas was formed in the late 1990s by deserters from the Mexican Army's elite special forces.
Originally, they were recruited as enforcers by the Gulf Cartel, one of Mexico's most powerful drug trafficking organizations at the time. Name origin. The name Zetas comes from the radio code Z used by high-ranking Mexican Army officers.
The founding members were highly trained in tactics, weaponry, and counterinsurgency. Break from Gulf Cartel, 2010. By 2010, tensions led Los Zetas to split from the Gulf Cartel, initiating a bloody war for territory and dominance. This schism led to extreme violence throughout northern and eastern Mexico. 2. Rise to power. After the split, Los Zetas rapidly expanded their reach by taking over key smuggling routes in the Gulf Coast, especially in Tamaulipas, Nuevo León, and Veracruz. Diversifying criminal activities beyond drug trafficking to include extortion, kidnapping, oil theft, and human trafficking. Recruiting aggressively, even from local gangs, corrupt police, and soldiers, making them both large in number and militarily capable. They became infamous for extreme violence, including mass killings, public beheadings, and arson military-style tactics, ambushes, and roadblocks. 3. Criminal activities. Los Zetas diversified far beyond the typical drug cartel model. Drug trafficking, cocaine, meth, heroin, and marijuana, mostly to the U.S. extortion and kidnapping, from local businesses, migrants, and rivals. Oil theft, tapping. Into Pemex pipelines became a lucrative side operation. Human trafficking. Migrants traveling through Mexico were often kidnapped and forced into labor, or killed. Money laundering, using businesses like nightclubs, cattle ranches, and transport companies. Strength and structure, at peak, 2010-2012. Estimated to have over 10,000 members, many with military training. Controlled territory in more than 10 Mexican states, especially in the Northeast. Had presence in Guatemala and connections in the US, Europe, and South America. Engaged in urban warfare against the Mexican government and other cartels. Leadership: Heriberto Elasca Lascano, former soldier and co-founder. Killed in 2012, Miguel Trevino Morales, Z40, took over after Lascano, captured in 2013. Later, the group fractured into smaller factions after leadership losses. Decline and fragmentation. From 2012 onward, Mexican and U.S. authorities intensified crackdowns. Leadership decapitations weakened the group. Infighting and splits created offshoots, such as Cartel del Noreste, CDN Old School Zetas. Their territorial control shrank, and their national influence diminished. As of the mid-2020s, Los Zetas are no longer a unified powerhouse, but their legacy remains in the violence and tactics they normalized in the Mexican cartel underworld. 6. Legacy and impact introduced militarized cartel warfare, turned many regions into war zones, influenced other groups to use brutal psychological warfare, like narco banners and public executions, helped transform cartels from drug runners to multi-crime syndicates. 7. Geographic influence, state by state. At their peak, 2009-2012, Los Zetas had a major presence in northeastern Mexico, Tamaulipas, their home base, major trafficking corridors to Texas. Cities like Nuevo Laredo and Reynosa were battlegrounds. Nuevo León. Monterrey was a key stronghold with brutal turf wars. Coahuila, used for smuggling routes and money laundering. Eastern and central Mexico, Veracruz, strategic for port access. They carried out mass killings and controlled extortion rings. San Luis Potosí and Zacatecas, important for logistics, site of major clashes. Hidalgo and Puebla, used for fuel theft and passageways for southern operations. Southern Mexico and borderlands Tabasco and Chiapas, transit routes for South American drugs and human smuggling. Guatemala. Los Zetas operated across the border, forming alliances and training local groups. They also operated in parts of Quintana Roo, Oaxaca, Guerrero, often through temporary alliances or pressure campaigns with other major Cartel factions. And current status after major leadership losses and internal wars, Los Zetas splintered into Cartel del Noreste, CDN, the strongest Zetas offshoot. Based in Nuevo Laredo, led by the Trevino family, related to Z40, continues to clash with the Mexican army and rival groups like the Gulf Cartel and Sinaloa Cartel, known for military-grade weapons and paramilitary discipline, old-school Zetas, Zetas Vieja Escuela, claims to follow the original Zeta code of discipline and structure. Mostly active in Veracruz, Tabasco, and Tamaulipas, waging localized battles for control and extortion rackets. Regional bands. Other cells now operate more like regional criminal gangs than a unified cartel. They use the Zetas brand name, but have little national coordination. 9. Role in the Mexican drug war. Los Zetas redefined cartel violence, using psychological warfare and military-grade assaults. Their clashes with the Mexican military brought intense urban warfare to cities. They prompted increased U.S.-Mexico security cooperation, e.g., the Mérida Initiative. Their brutality influenced cartel evolution, especially in tactics now used by CJNG. 10. Timeline of major events: 1997-2001, formation, 1997-1999. Gulf Cartel boss Osiel Cárdenas Guillén recruits elite Mexican army deserters to form his enforcement wing. 2000. These men officially become known as Los Zetas, led by Arturo Guzmán de Sena, Z1. 2002-2009. Growth as Gulf Cartel's muscle expand operations into multiple states. Take control of smuggling routes and eliminate rivals with extreme violence. Develop reputation as the most feared enforcers in Mexico. TAN 10. Official split from the Gulf Cartel. A dispute leads to open warfare between the Gulf Cartel and Zetas. Massacres and public gunfights erupt across Tamaulipas and Nuevo León. 2011-2012. Peak power control over 50% of Mexico's territory at their height. Battle Sinaloa Cartel and Gulf Cartel simultaneously. Responsible for mass killings like the San Fernando massacres and the Casino Royale fire. 2012-2015. Decline begins. Heriberto Lazcano, Alaska, killed in 2012. Miguel Trevino Morales, Z40, captured in 2013. Infighting begins and splinters form. CDN, Old School Zetas. Now 2015-2020. Fragmentation, government raids, and internal betrayals reduce power. Cartel del Noreste, CDN, emerges as the main successor. Local factions retain control over extortion and fuel theft. 2020 present. Legacy of Terror. CDN remains active in northeast Mexico. Zetas name still used by gangs to instill fear. Once dominant Zetas now operate as fractured cells in violent pockets. Notorious acts and massacres. San Fernando massacres. 2010 and 2011. 2010. Zetas kidnap and kill 72 migrants from Central and South America who refused to work for them. 2011. Discovery of 193 bodies in mass graves, mostly migrants and kidnapped civilians. Casino Royale attack, Monterrey, 2011. Zetas set fire to a casino, killing 52 people, mostly women. It was retaliation against the owners for not paying extortion fees. This act shocked the nation and led to temporary crackdowns. Decapitations and public displays. Zetas pioneered the practice of leaving bodies hanging from bridges, decapitated victims, and narco banners to intimidate rivals and the public. Current status and influence, 2024 to 2025. Cartel del Noreste, CDN. Now the primary successor of the original Zetas. Stronghold in Nuevo Laredo, a vital border city, involved in shootouts with military kidnappings and drug smuggling into Texas. Remaining cells, smaller gangs using the Zetas brand operate in Veracruz, Zacatecas, Tamaulipas, and Tabasco, focused on local rackets, fuel theft, huachicol, extortion, and kidnapping. Some align or feud with CJNG, Sinaloa Cartel, and remnants of the Gulf Cartel. 2012, legacy and impact normalized ultra-violence as a cartel strategy, shifted the criminal paradigm from drug trafficking to total territorial control. Their presence deeply eroded law enforcement, political stability, and public trust in many regions, set a precedent for paramilitary cartels, influencing CJNG and others.